It's time for another Nebraska Prep Zone report. We are sponsored today by MD West One, Nebraska's most advanced sports medicine, orthopedics, neurosurgery, and spine care, covering Greater Omaha for over 70 years. I'm your host, Jake Anderson. Joining me, as always, is Mike Sautter. Mike, we have a jam-packed show today. But first, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. A lot going on kind of this week a little bit. So, yeah.
It's nice to have a little bit of busyness, a little hectic, a little news, a little state tournament action.
Yeah, state golf just happened, and state softball is just underway. So, some storylines, I guess, in state softball this year. The biggest one, obviously, is Papillion-La Vista, and if they can just continue to demolish their own winning streak of they broke the school's winning streak. They broke the longest winning streak in state history earlier this year when it was 49 games. Their 2017-18 team did, and right now they're at 69 wins, and if they win the whole thing, it'd be 72.
We're recording this on Wednesday, which is the first day of the state tournament. They already won before we started, and they are just still rolling. I mean, obviously, their key cog. I mean, they have a ton if you're winning nearly 70 straight games. But Jordan Ball, pitcher, going to Oklahoma, she's amazing. I'm not for sure how much we need to say about her, except go watch those games. It's an impressive show.
I mean, she's pretty phenomenal. I've seen her a few times, I guess, a handful of times, pitch, hit, all that stuff. Just no-hitters and one-hitters and no-hitters and one-hitters pitching with hitting a home run or two, batting. She's incredible. It's clearly a very special kind of athlete that we don't see around here very often. And she's the, number one rated player in the country for a reason. And she's the, key to what Papillion softball is doing. They have other pieces, a lot of other pieces, but she's obviously the key.
Definitely. And our guy, Steve Bidek, will have all those games covered. A couple of the storylines here. Bellevue East is making the program's first appearance at state, and the tournament is in its 28th year, so that's pretty notable there.
They won. I'm pretty sure they won their first game, too.
North Platte back up in Class A for this season. They were in Class B for a few years. They're entering the state tournament. They set a school record this year with 65 home runs, so that's a powerful team to watch.
Yeah, that's crazy, actually.
And you plan to check out a few of those state softball games on Friday as well?
Right. I will be at state softball on Friday. That is correct. So for the, I think, semis and finals is my goal on Friday. So, yeah.
And we have live updates rolling on anyprepzone.com. We'll have it covered throughout the day, throughout the week. Leading into champions being crowned on Saturday. Should be a great tournament.
Yeah. Should be fun. I mean, I would imagine, there are restrictions on who can come and all that stuff and space. But I would imagine if Papillion's in it, there'll be a lot of people either tuning in or watching that game in person. I would think a lot of people would be very interested if they make it that far.
And the other thing that we should jump into real quick before we get to the rest of our news and notes, the Class A football playoffs will begin next week, but in a different format than years past. All 24 teams, as we've noted previously, will be in the bracket. The top 8 teams will have a bye, so it'll almost kind of be play-in games to get to your normal 16-team bracket. And since you're kind of a little bit involved behind the scenes on that, Mike, why don't you explain how that bracket is going to be determined this year?
Yeah, it's kind of neat, right? It's something different that the NSAA and the board and whatnot decided to do. Ranking all 24 or seeding, not ranking, seeding all 24 teams into a 24 team bracket. So the first 8 seeds get a bye, which is normally the week 9 game. So that would be next week. So Class B and C1 and C2 will be playing their last regular season games next week, while 8-man and Class A are starting their playoff runs. Now, some teams, I'm just assuming that Bellevue West will be one of Bellevue West and West Side, likely going to be 1 and 2, and however it comes out, we'll have another bye week. And for a team like Bellevue West, it's like, man, we just want to play games, So having another bye isn't necessarily great, but it's not terrible. So some of those teams will get a bye. The top 8 seeds will get a bye.
And to give people kind of an idea who those might be,
Right.
It won't be by wild card points. It won't be this year.
Right.
But to give people an idea, those top 8 teams by wild card points are Bellevue West 4-0, Millard South 5-1, Lincoln Southeast 6-0, West Side 6-0, Gretna 5-1, Elkhorn South 5-1. And another team like Bellevue West that you talked about, Kearney, has only played 3 games. They're 2-1, and then North Platte 4-2. A few of the other teams outside of that, though, Creighton Prep at 4-2, Lincoln East at 5-2. So you could see kind of some teams moving up or down.
Yeah, this year of all years is the year not to use wild card points strictly for playoff seedings. And those records are based off of, they don't have the replacement games in those records. So some of those records are a little different. But, I mean, Omaha West Side right now, if the playoffs started right now and it was only wildcard points, West Side would be the 4 seed. I think basically everybody thinks they're either the 1 or 2 seed.
Similar to what we had last year with
Bellevue West being the 4. Right. So another kind of weird sort of thing, Gretna right now is the 5. Elkhorn South is the 6. Well, Elkhorn South just beat Gretna pretty handily on Friday night. So, yes, those are kind of the teams that are in there. The process is going to be a little different. There's going to be a selection committee, and those people on the selection committee are athletic directors from across the state, of really nice representation. You have Lincoln Southeast Athletic Director, JJ, Jason Ryan, Papillion-La Vista's Athletic Director, Dan Schinzel, Creighton Prep's Athletic Director, Ben Reese, Norfolk's Athletic Director, and Jordan Cudney, North Platte's Athletic Director, are the actual selection committee. The selection committee's criteria, or what they've been kind of told, is they, yes, use wildcard points, every high school coach will send in their rankings of the teams or seedings of the teams as they see it from 1 to 24. There are select media members that will do the same. I know myself and Stu Pospisil are 2 of those media members that will send in their from 1 through 24. Common opponents is another criteria. Head-to-head games is a criteria, and the replacement games will count for seeding, which is smart. That's good. At first, they weren't going to count, but now they will, which is a good thing, I think. So the criteria for the seeding should come out Saturday late morning, before noonish, is what I'm expecting or suspecting, I guess. It'll be kind of fun, right, to have a different look at it or feel of how it's done. And this year may be a catalyst for, like, hey, maybe we should do this going forward. Kind of like, college football and college basketball has, seeding committees for the playoffs or NCAA tournaments and stuff. right now, if you look at it, the top sort of 8 teams that are battling for that first round bye, not sure everyone wants one, but the teams that are at mix, I think some of the teams you read, Jake, Bellevue West, West Side, I think those are going to be 1 and 2. I would expect those will be 1 and 2. Even if West Side does lose their replacement game on Friday against St. Thomas Aquinas, which I think we'll touch on in a little bit. Even if they do lose that, I think that won't change their standing as being either the 1 or the 2. I feel pretty strongly that that's how that'll shake out. And then you have kind of like who's third. Is it Southeast? Is it Millard South? Is it Elkhorn South? I think those are kind of all the teams in that mix for the 3 seed. And then obviously that'd be 3, 4, and 5. Next you have Gretna. If Gretna beats Southeast, they played Friday night. If Gretna beats Southeast, then does that bump Elkhorn South up to maybe that 3 or 4, or move them up because they beat Gretna if you go to head-to-head, and common opponents in that. So those would be like the 5. The interesting one is you have 7 and 8. Who the 7-8 is going to be will be really interesting because I think it could be a number of teams. It could be I think it's either Prep. I think Prep's kind of squarely in that mix unless they were to falter this week. But I don't know if I see that happening. Gretna's in that conversation, obviously. North Platte, I think, is probably in that conversation. But Prep did beat North Platte, so Prep obviously clearly I think moves up. And Lincoln East is one that's there too. They lost their starting and best wide receiver earlier this year against Millard North in that crazy game where Millard North came all the way back and won. That East is a tricky deal, and really it's kind of like Kearney, North Platte, East, Fremont, Millard North, I think are in that who gets that 8 spot. One of those teams I think will get that 8 spot, and a lot to be determined, or those last sort of 2 spots, I guess. That'll be really interesting to see who does that and who maybe gets a bye or doesn't, and all those things. The Millard North Fremont game is a replacement game this week, and that I think will go a long way for as far as seeding purposes are concerned. I think that game carries a lot of seeding weight this week as one of the games. So a lot to be determined there. You look at the bottom half, that's pretty solid, but that 7 to 12 it could be a number of teams, and even you have North Star in there and Columbus is in there. Millard West is probably better than their record, but you got all those things into consideration and injuries if people know, and it'll be kind of neat to see how it shakes out.
Do you know how the bracket will look? Will it be pretty straightforward, 9 versus 24, and then that winner moves on to play 8?
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll be just I don't know for sure, but a 2014 bracket broken down to 16 will be, that'll be how it'll be. I'm guessing. So I don't think it'll be like 15, 16 playing. I think that's how you describe it. I think the winner of the 9-24 will play 8, or actually I think the winner of 9-24 will probably play the 1. So it'll be reversed of that. I don't know. We'll see how they do it. I don't know. No one's told me.
Lot to be determined. If the 24 beats the 9, maybe they reseed. Who knows?
No, I don't think they will. I think they'll just, here's the bracket. This is what it'll look like, and this is how you can advance.
Okay. And do we know host site by higher seed?
I'm pretty sure that's how it'll go, which is how it's been in Class A for a few years now. Is the highest seed gets it. And B, it's always been like if you hosted the week before and you're the lower seed or something like that, then the next week you got to travel, or it's a weird way they do it. And B, not sure I agree with that. I think that my personal opinion is the higher seed should always host because that's your reward for a good regular season. But A's been that way for a couple of years. I would be shocked if they make that change.
Definitely. Well, I look forward to seeing that bracket and breaking it down with you next week. Let's jump into the rest of our news for the week, and we've got kicker news. Kicker news.
Yeah. Let's, I guess, start with Kellen Meyer choosing to walk on at Nebraska, the kicker from Ord. He's kicked a 58-yard field goal this year, which is tied for the Class C record, or tied for the second.
It's tied for the Class C2 record, and it's the second longest in state history.
Right. Missed it by just a yard. The longest in state history is 59 yards. But he kicked a 58-yarder earlier this year. And he's not just a kicker. Like, he plays receiver and I think safety or defensive back for Ord. So a decent athlete, not just, a guy that is a, skinny little kicker that they run out there to kick field goals. So nice get, right? I mean, he's walking on in Nebraska. Said it was, when I talked to him the other night, he said it's always been his dream to play there. So that's why he's doing that.
And worth mentioning, it's another good get because it gives them a great high school mascot on their team, the Chanticleers. Yeah. Anytime we bring up Ord, you got to bring up Chanticleers.
Yeah, Chance. That's a chance. So, yeah, that's a great mascot name.
The other one from this week is Creighton Prep's Patrick Foley, who we've talked about before, great kicker, committing to Arkansas. But it's one of those instances where he will gray shirt for the Razorback, meaning he'll walk on for his first year and then be on scholarship for the rest of his career.
Right. They, kicker, punter, one of the top rated, I guess, punters, top, I think he's 14, 15, something like that. According to Cole's Kicking, which is kind of the standard for ranking kickers in the country. He is, like you said, going to gray shirt at Arkansas, and he's going to walk on for the first year and then be on scholarship the next. He's a really good kicker, like kicker/punter. Think he's going to go start as a punter, it feels like. So he's had a nice year too for Prep. And the one time I saw Prep was against Westside. He had a nice kind of game, the first game of the year. So he's a solid athlete too. So it's a nice get, I guess, right? I mean,
yeah, Division I school, good fit for the kicker. Mm-hmm. And that does it for kicker news, but they are people too. We got to mention them when they commit.
Right.
And then let's get to that game to watch this week. A little bit of an odd one, kind of one of those that happens mainly just probably because of makeup game for the teams. St. Thomas Aquinas from Kansas, near Overland Park, will travel to Westside. They come in at 4-1. The Class A number 1 team Warriors are 7-0.
Yeah, Aquinas lost earlier this year to Lawrence High. Pretty intriguing game. I did hear that Aquinas potentially has a few injuries that they're dealing with, I guess. So we'll see about that. It's always fun. I wish it would happen more. I wish, teams from the Kansas City area would come up here, or the Omaha area teams would go down there and play, or Des Moines or Sioux Falls. And I wish that stuff would happen more. I think it's a lot more fun if it can happen, and creates kind of intriguing matchups with different players. A few other games real quick. Grand Island Northwest at Aurora is a big game in Class B for wild card points. And then Bergen and Fremont Bergen traveling to Oakland Craig. Both teams that's a top 3. Oakland Craig's number 1 and Bergen's 3 in C2.
Both those teams are 7-0.
Yeah, and Bergen is looking for a little revenge after last year. I mean, Oakland Craig running clocked Bergen last year in the same kind of game, and the game was at Oakland Craig, and so is this one. So Bergen, I'm sure, remembers that game very well. Oakland Craig handled them last year. I was there for one of my games, of Pinnacle Bank games of the week, and so I would expect a bit closer of a game. I would hope so this year than what it was last year. Last year it was also freezing cold, if I remember correctly. So some really big like playoff seeding things. Also, St. Paul traveling to Adams Central. A game might get over in an hour because both teams like to run the ball.
Both those teams are 6-1 in C1. St. Paul is the number 3 ranked team, and Adams Central number 5. Those are by Stu's rankings. We should
right. That Northwest Aurora game, that's a game I'll be at, and it's a rivalry game. 2 really good coaches that are really good in-game coaches too. So that'll be fun. I've seen Aurora play a lot, but I've never been to Aurora for a high school game. So that'll be fun. New environment for me. I've been to a basketball game there, multiple, but never a football game.
Well, we'll look forward to your coverage from that one, as well as the state softball tournament. And then next week, as we said, we'll have that Class A bracket breakdown, talking week 9 for the other classes. 8-man football playoffs also start next week, so we'll probably have some of that, and who knows what the other news will bring.
One big thing for 8-man, in the years past, this is the first year that 8-man is going to Friday night playoff games. Normally it was like a Tuesday or a Thursday, kind of an odd sort of schedule. This year they're actually going Friday nights. So a little bit different, kind of fun, neat, if you will, to do that. But I always look like going or driving somewhere to watch a 8-man game on a Tuesday night. That was kind of always fun. But this year that won't be the case.
Good to know. We'll look forward to see what the schedule does look like this year, how they spread out games. We'll have more for you next week. Thanks for listening.
As the official team doctors for high school and college teams across Greater Omaha, MD West One Sports Med Doctors can get you back into the game stronger than ever. Meet the Sports Med team at mdwest1.com or call 402-390-4111.